They say it's 3 o'clock, which means the Maud Betty show is supposed to be on, but I don't see the little clock thing going. Do you see me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Hey, people. All right, Maud Betty here. I'm gonna wait. Oh, crapola. Hello, Retro Road Mappers. Thanks for tuning in. We're gonna wait a few minutes to have some more folks show up, but thank you so much. Craig, nice to see you. Thank you for supporting Reeds and Company, Phoenixville's own independent bookstore. That was really cool of you to order a book from them. So I appreciate that. I've ordered a couple of books from them myself, and now I actually have to read them. So yeah, welcome Retro Road Mappers. So this is Maud Betty with another Facebook Live from the Hacienda, because we all can't go out. And a couple of things that you may notice is, first of all, I don't know if you can actually see this, and not that I want to... So I'm thinking that I have this the correct way, so that if I hold this up, ooh, yeah, that you can actually read it. So we're going to be visiting Massachusetts today. Massachusetts is my home state, even though I live here in Pennsylvania. I haven't lived in Massachusetts for a while, but Massachusetts is where I got my start retro road mapping and living and all that. So I figured we would just hunker down, because literally I was making my list of all the places that I wanted to share in Massachusetts, and I realized it was going to have to be longer than a half-hour video to do something like this. But I've incorporated some of the other features that we've had. So while we will be discussing Massachusetts, I will also be sharing some things from my bookcase and from my collection. We'll be talking about things to do, places to eat, places to shop, and maybe a few places to stay. But here's the thing I would like to challenge you Retro Road Mappers with. And let me see if I can, I don't know if any, you know, actually, could somebody do me a comment and just write a comment in the comments, like hello or something, so I make sure that I can see them, because I'm doing this from my phone. Yeah, so we're going to be visiting Massachusetts. I had hoped to actually have, yay, Sarah, thank you. Okay, I can see the comments. All good. I appreciate that. This is a group effort. I had hoped to actually have a musical accompaniment, not Retro Road Husband, because Anita O'Day sings a wonderful song about Massachusetts that I always love, and I couldn't get it to kind of play correctly. Glenn Wells, nice to see you. Helen, nice to see you as well. Thanks for chiming in, everybody. So anyhow, I will ask you to do this too. When this is all over, go to the YouTube and look up Anita O'Day singing Massachusetts, because it's a fun song. It's her and Gene Krupa. And actually, after that, if you like Anita, one of my favorite things ever she has done is Tea for Two from Jazz on a Summer's Day. I've heard she was a bit chemically inspired, shall we say, when she was doing that video, but she looks absolutely fabulous in it. But hey, we only have a half an hour, so we're going to go to Massachusetts, okay? So first off, I kind of noticed that most of the places that I had on the Retro Road Map that are in Massachusetts, or tend to be, are places to eat. And since you're here, Glenn Wells, and you like diners and things, I thought, here we go, I'm getting better at this, I swear I'm getting better. I thought I would share many of the places, classic diners of Massachusetts. So I will be really quickly mentioning a bunch of diners from Massachusetts, because as you can see, I have some ones picked out that I want to share with you. But if you are at all interested in like all of the diners in Massachusetts, get this book. It's from Larry Coltrera. It's History Press, and it is a wonderful resource. It is a few years old, so there are some, sadly, that are closed in here. But this is a great resource for finding all the diners in Massachusetts. So I thought what I would do, and oh crap, I should have a picture of the state. Well, anyhow, Massachusetts is kind of shaped like a rectangle. Oh yeah, actually kind of like right here. So this is Cape Cod, or the Cape as we like to call it. Provincetown is up here. You go down, we've got Truro and Wellfleet and I think Orleans is down here. Falmouth is kind of like here. And then there's the rest of the state, or actually the rest of the state, which is a triangle. No, it isn't. It's a rectangle. So anyhow, I thought we would start on the Cape. And the reason we're going to start on the Cape too is because I have some of my snow domes. So this is one from the Cape. And there are a number of cool places on the Cape that I want to recommend. So if we were starting up near Provincetown, I think Provincetown is great. There's a wonderful place called the Lobster Pot where you can get a lobster, and it's got a wicked awesome neon sign. That's in Provincetown. A little bit south of that in Wellfleet is one of the few drive-in movie theaters in Massachusetts, and it's called the Wellfleet Drive-In. And they actually they do one of these things that most drive-ins do, which is they also, in the afternoon, in the weekends, they have like a flea market and stuff, and people can sell stuff. And that's actually where I got this right here. This is something, I apologize, I don't know the crafty person who I got it from years ago. And what she did was she kind of cut up old maps and things like that and like decoupaged it onto something. So this is indicating that Massachusetts is the year-round vacation land. So where else on the Cape would I send you? Well, we were in Wellfleet, so we'd go to the drive-in. Oh, and you know what? Actually, before I even go there, so remember how I was saying earlier in the comments, so I always like to divide things up into, places to eat, which we will cover a lot of them, places to shop, got a few of those, things to do, bowling, movies, that type of thing. The one thing I'm kind of light on here in the Massachusetts area, so we'll get this out of the way, is places to stay. Kind of cool, vintagey inspired, not sketchy, sad motels, but cool vintage places to stay. And the reason I bring that up in the Cape Cod area is because right outside, right before you get to Provincetown, and did I write it down? It's in Truro. So in Truro, there's this adorable little place. It's called Days Cottages. And if you've ever driven on Route 6 up to P-Town, you have seen them. They're like the little, again, you're going to hear me repeat often about my love for these little Monopoly houses, motor court type places. And Days Cottages, you will see them on your left-hand side, kind of on the bay side of the Cape as you drive to Provincetown. They're in Truro. I believe you can still rent them, and they are just this wonderful kind of identical little cottages all along the water. It's a place I've never stayed myself, but now that we are kind of in this zone where we're all stuck at home, when I was going through this list, I was like, God, I have a number of things that I want to do and I want to go to. So one of the places, when we're all set free from being safe at home, that I want to stay is Days Cottages in Truro. So that's a kind of a fun place to stay. But other than that, there really aren't a lot of kind of cool vintage places that I can think of for Massachusetts. I do have a question. If anybody has ever stayed, so here's the thing. It's a little bit more like mid-mod map than retro road map. As some of you know, I have another Facebook page and a little project I'm doing called Mid-Mod Map, which is a little bit more of the mid-century type places to go to. Excuse me, I think. And there's a place, there's a motel / hotel in the Fenway called the Verb. I don't know if we have any Massachusetts folks who've chimed in, and maybe, or even if you're not from Mass, has anybody stayed there? Because it's done one of these things, which I think is such a neat idea, which is people have taken kind of the classic bones of a mid-century motel and kind of breathed new, wonderful life into it. Maybe a little bit of a hipstery thing for some people. It may not be true vintagey vintage, but I love it when people see that there's good bones there. I have an interesting story about this hotel too, and I'm probably going to talk more about the places I haven't gone. So we're talking about the Verb Motel in Boston, or hotel. It is a kind of a revived mid-century motel. And remember how I was talking before, and maybe some of you are doing this when we're all at home. Are you looking through your collections, the things you collect? You've got my my postcard collection, and I've got my snow domes. This is actually a snow cube, I guess. But another collection I have, not very many of them, and please, I'm not trying to add any more of them. But I have a random collection of like matchbook covers, matchbooks. And when I was going through mine the other day, I found this one. And it's the Fenway Motor Hotels in the Fenway of Boston. It's an old one. And this was the Fenway Commonwealth right here. And the neat thing is that when I was going through trying to think of places to recommend, and I remembered the Verb in Boston, I Googled, and the funny thing is this matchbook is from the same hotel when it used to be when it was back in the 50s and 60s. I saw a picture of it, so that was kind of a neat connection to make when I'm, doing my collections and stuff. But other than that, other than Days Cottages and maybe the Verb, I don't have a lot of places to recommend to stay in Massachusetts. So if you have any, put them in the comments, and as I find some, I will add them. But let's talk about, as I put it up before, let's talk about some of these classic diners in Massachusetts, okay? So again, Larry Coltrera's book is an awesome resource, and I'm just going to show some of my, not necessarily show, because it's black and white pictures or whatever, but in the order in which they appear in Larry's book, I will highly recommend. First of all, the Town Diner in Watertown. Now, the Town Diner in Watertown looks like your classic diner, but there's an important difference for us diner geeks in the fact that it wasn't built in a factory and hauled out to the site. It was actually built there, but it's really awesome. It's one of my favorite diners, and actually, you know what? Let me try this. Bear with me, okay? I have a painting, I just realized, of the Town Diner. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. Yeah, there's my painting of the Town Diner. So you can see it looks totally like an old school classic diner. My dad gave me that painting years and years ago, and I thank him very much for that. But that's the Town Diner in Watertown. That was actually the first place I wanted to eat when I got back from Morocco last year. And kind of the fun thing was that it was so busy we couldn't even get a table. So the Town Diner in Watertown, I love. Another diner I haven't been to in years, but I have such fond memories of it. And let me doll things up here a little bit. You don't want to see this stuff. So another diner I want to recommend is in Lynn. Lynn, the city of sin, we say very affectionately. I have family from Lynn, so I can, I'm not besmirching it. But there is the Capitol Diner in Lynn, and it's the most adorable little vintage diner, kind of nestled in between some buildings in Lynn. And the last time I was there, there's like a little lawn and they had chickens outside. So they were doing that kind of hipster urban chicken thing way before all, the hipster chicken people are doing it now. Capitol Diner in Lynn. The other neat thing that's going on in Lynn, which I'm not sure if it's open for the public, but I think you can see some of the signs out there. So there's this neon sign collector in Massachusetts. His name is Dave Waller, and Dave has an amazing collection of neon signs. I met Dave and his wife Lynn over 20 years ago, and I had such a crush on their house because they live in a converted firehouse in Malden, and they actually have a diner inside their house. OMG, people, so awesome. But he has a bunch of his collection of neon signs. They were up on I think it's called the Rose Kennedy Greenway. But they also are in Lynn because he stores a lot of them there. So if you're ever in Lynn, which is a place you should go to the Capitol Diner and take a look for some of Dave Waller's neon signs. So that's a wonderful thing to do. Another thing, what's the next diner that Larry has? As I said, I'm not going to hit them all because there's a bunch of them. The Agawam Diner. So the Agawam. So here's the Agawam's going to dovetail nicely into a couple of things. So the Agawam Diner is in Rowley. I believe it's on 133. And I always have such a hard time when I'm up in that area as far as what to eat. The Agawam is a stainless steel diner. I'm not sure of the make and model. I want to say Mountain View, Glen Wells. I don't know if you know off the top of your head. Regardless, they have wonderful diner food and fabulous pies. But I always am torn because since I don't live in the area and I visit only occasionally, I need to spend my, it's a Federo. Okay, cool. I need to spend my calories wisely. So when I'm up near the Agawam Diner, I want to eat there, but I also want to eat at the Clam Box. So the clam box is in Ipswich. It is one of those things called programmatic architecture, where it looks like a box of fried clams, and fried clams are one of my absolute favorite foods in life. And so to eat fried clams in a building that looks like a fried clam box is just, to me, one of the most fun things to do in life, and especially because the clams at the clam box are so delicious. So while you're up in the North Shore, if you want diner food, go to the Agawam Diner. And if you want fried clams, you can go to Woodman's. Actually, you could do a taste test. You could go to Woodman's, who invented the fried clam, or you could go to the Clam Box, which is, I want to say it's, I think I said Ipswich, but you can Google it. Another diner area that is great is Lowell. So on a related note, that diner picture I showed you of my dad's, I think the artist was from Lowell. There's a lot to like about Lowell, as they say. And the Owl Diner in Lowell is one of my favorites. There's a bunch of diners there, but that one is a great one. And Lowell is kind of an old mill town that's being revitalized, I hear. So that's a great one. Going kind of in the south section of the Massachusetts area, because we're talking all about Massachusetts today, because I love it. It's where I'm from. And I could literally spend way too long talking about it. But Maxx Diner. So Maxx is in Fall River. And there's another thing I want to tell you about Fall River too. So Maxx, there was a scare about Maxx. And let me see if I can find a picture here too. So Maxx closed kind of without warning, but then luckily reopened. It is a wonderful vintage diner with probably one of the most dramatic neon signs outside of Coney Island. Oh yeah, here we go. Outside of Coney Island, hot dogs in Worcester. But here's a picture of the Maxx Diner, and this is from Susan Bregman's book. Where can I do this? There we go. New England Neon. She has done a great job of collecting up some of the neon signs here. So again, if you want to support your local people who are doing the stuff that I do, you can get her book. And she's got right there, see that Maxx sign? Isn't that gorgeous? That's a little bit of Las Vegas in very staid and traditional Massachusetts. So you don't see a lot of that. But Maxx in Fall River is great. When you're in Fall River too, couple of random things. I think they're famous. There's like a chop suey sandwich that you're supposed to be able to get. I haven't eaten it yet, but when I go back there, I promise I will try one, take one for the team, and maybe it's delicious. Or maybe chop suey sandwiches are also in Salem Willows. Oh, you know what? I want to feel like if Brother Cleve were on here, he might be able to remind me where it was from. But anyhow, here's a tip for Fall River. Not only go to Lizzie Borden's house, but Hartley's pork pies. Ooh, chow mein sandwich. Yes, that's it. I remember the Buttonwood Cafe in North Dartmouth used to have them. And yes, and not chop suey and not American chop suey, which is a totally different thing. Thank you, Michelle. Hartley's pork pies in Fall River. So good. They have been around, I think, since the 30s, family owned and operated. It's just a little storefront. You can't eat. You can get them to go. And you get these little like round pies that have pork and gravy, and so delicious. So delicious. I got some. You can even get you can get family size ones, but you can get little mini ones too. And literally, I think you'll see some. I took a picture at some point. And I ate it out of the trunk of my car. I was like, oh yeah, I'm taking this to go. Da, 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 da. My car was still parked out in front of their place, and I was diving into it like a woman who had not eaten in days. So when you're out in Fall River, Maxx Diner, and Hartley's pork pies. Another diner, now we're going to Worcester. So Worcester is known for a bunch of diners. I can't cover them all, and I'm not trying to dismiss any of them. But two of the ones that come to mind that I love are the Boulevard Diner, which is a Worcester lunch car that was made in Worcester, and then Blanchard's 101. They're both Worcester diners in Worcester, and I really love going to them. There's some of those classic old school barrel roof ones that they talk about. Heading out to the western part of the state, total different. So now we're out in the 413 area code. There is a diner that's neat. It's kind of one of those space age looking ones. It's the fill-in station, Watley Diner filling station, and fill-in station, kind of casual, fill-in. And it's a 1960 Cullman. And see, I knew that because Larry put it right here in the book. And that's really neat. It's got that kind of cantilevered, space age, really big plate glass windows and stuff that kind of futuristic. And another diner I love out in the western part of the state is the Miss Florence Diner. That is a wonderful, again, a barrel roof one. It's got a great neon sign that I think Susan also has in her book here. So you can pick that up. And those are just some of my favorite diners in Massachusetts. But oh my God. So a number of so now that we're all full of diner food, I'm going to take a break and we're going to talk about instead of food for a while, because we are going to come back to the food. I want to tell you about some fun things to do when you're in Massachusetts. So as I mentioned, Wellfleet has a drive-in movie theater. There are also, I believe there are 2 more. So it's weird now. Mendon has a drive-in movie theater, and Leicester up near, I think, Fitchburg and Lunenburg had one. So those are some neat drive-in movie theaters to go to. And there are some great classic movie houses and old theaters. The Cabot, which is up in Beverly, is a wonder. The Somerville Theater is great. They show movies and do live music. Both of these do. And one that is a little bit near and dear to my heart is the Community Theater, Dedham Community Theater in Dedham. And I love that because that is where my mother used to go to the movies when she was growing up. And I guess my dad must have too, because they both grew up in Dedham. And I remember walking down there from my grandmother's house when I would stay there with my cousins. And I remember us seeing, I want to say it was like Swiss Family Robinson or something there. And, the other neat thing, totally random, because this is how my brain works, is I'm talking about Dedham, right? So the Dedham Community Theater is in downtown Dedham. Awesome old school place. But if you ever want to see a ton of old school Boston things that aren't there anymore, there's a movie called the Friends of Eddie Coyle. It's kind of like a gangster movie, but it's set in Boston. I think it was late 60s, early 70s. And there are so many iconic scenes. You can see like Lechmere, you can see Barbo's Furniture. There's a mystery diner that's in there. So if you're ever watching movies like I do and you are kind of paying attention to the movie, but you're really paying attention to like what's going on in the background, like, oh, I wonder what that is. Friends of Eddie Coyle is a really good one for Massachusetts. What else do I have here? Oh, so 2 things. Bowling. Bowling is one thing, but there are 2 types of bowling that I want to recommend. So the first one is kind of the standard New England / Massachusetts bowling. Candlepin. Not candlestick, candlepin. Like Candlepins for Cash with Bob Gamia. And thank you, Michelle. That's 1974. Thank you. Candlepin bowling is the standard bowling in New England. When I used to see the Flintstones and they would have those weird bowling pin shaped, I had no idea what that was. Or also I remember Laverne and Shirley. Laverne's father owned a pizzeria and bowling alley, and they did what I called big ball bowling. But Massachusetts, we have Candlepin. And this place is such a gem. This is Colonial Bowling in Worcester. And if you ever follow me on Instagram, or I've probably posted about it on Facebook, this place is literally like walking into a time warp. They've got those great curved fiberglass Brunswick striped, benches that you sit on where you can change into your old-timey bowling alley shoes. You can play bowling Candlepin. It's got little small balls about the size of a grapefruit. And that is one of my favorite places to do that bowling, is because it's also like just that step back in time look and feel. Another neat thing, and I'm trying to see, I kind of have one here. Hold on again. Oh, and you'll notice too, maybe. So it's a little bit cleaner in the living room here because we finally finished my office. So now I don't feel bad about leaving here, because before when I was sitting here, I was kind of hiding a lot of crap behind me. But let me just grab this for a sec. So hold on. Okay, so the other kind of bowling I want to tell you about that you can also find in Massachusetts is Duckpin. So Duckpin bowling has a smaller bowling pin, and this is kind of one. This is actually, I don't mean to get all geeky on you. This is a rubber band Duckpin bowling, and this is more out, I think, kind of near Pittsburgh and stuff. But I got this at a thrift shop, and I kind of love it, and so that's why it's on my shelves. But there are a few places to go Duckpin bowling in Massachusetts, up in Billerica, and also North Chelmsford. There's a place to go bowling, Duckpin bowling, and I always think they look like ducks. That's what I always thought. It's like, because they look like quack, 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 doing that. Okay, what else? Are we hungry yet? Because I can always talk about food in Massachusetts. And I want to bide my time. I want to make sure I tell you about all these things. So we talked about diners. Okay, the Pleasant Cafe in Roslindale. I'm always talking about this place because it's so charming and old school. Neon sign outside, honey, warm wood paneling on the inside, family owned and operated. There's a bar on one side. There's a little restaurant on the other. They are owned by an Irish family, but they do great pizza. And it's just such a sense of community there that I have called it pretty much my go-to hang when I am back at home. So pretty much if I'm at home and I can get away, I will go and ask friends to meet me at the Pleasant, because it's wicked pleasant and it's been around since the 1930s. Another place that I want to recommend, because this is to me another interesting thing, talking about regional foods. So one regional food which you may not know about Massachusetts is this thing called bar pie. So it's pizza, right? But it's like a small, maybe a 12-inch version, like a little bit bigger than a personal pizza, or if you're really hungry, it's a personal pizza. It's mainly like a South Shore of Boston type thing. And there's a bunch of places that sell it. There's like Buddy's. There's, Town Spa in Stoughton has it. You can even get it. There's a VFW, I think it is. Oh crap, what is that? No, there's a bunch of places you can get it, but here's my favorite. It's called the Linwood, and it's in Randolph, Massachusetts. And they serve, not only is it an old school place, they serve the bar pie pizza, and they have, to me, which is such an iconic New England type thing, they have baked bean pizza, a pizza with baked beans on it. Now that may seem weird to you, but oh my gosh, it's so tasty. You get that, maybe you have them add a little onion, you have them add a little bit of bacon, so good. So I highly recommend the Linwood. And you can order, yes, the Town Spa and also Crescent Ridge Dairy when you're in the Stoughton area. Crescent Ridge is a great place to go get ice cream. Speaking of ice cream too, good transition, thank you, Michelle, I just love ice cream, and I could eat it all the time, except for then I'm lactose intolerant, so I have to take a pill before I eat it. But Cabot's ice cream in Newton is like an old school 1950s place where you can go get like a sandwich, like an egg salad sandwich, and then you can get one of their ice cream creations. And it's such a cool place. You can sit at a counter, or they have little stools, what do you call them? Like booths you can sit in. Cabot's in Newton is one of my favorite places. And then it's so funny because then I just was like, here's my list, and the food one is like, blah. Really quick, Skip's Hamburgers in Merrimack, I love them. Putnam Pantry for make your own sundaes. That is a great place. Colonial Donuts in Taunton, love them. How could I finish this video, and we're almost out of time, people, but I gotta tell you about Kowloon. Kowloon, which is probably one of the only tiki places left in New England, I'd say, which is great. It's a Chinese restaurant, like Chinese American or Boston Chinese, as some people like to call it. It's this wonderful A-frame shaped building up on Route 1 in Saugus. Route 1 in Saugus, that used to be like Las Vegas of Massachusetts, and literally there's like two places left. There's the Kowloon, and then there's the Prince Spaghetti House. So when you're up there, take your time, eat at both places. You can't miss them because Kowloon has got a wonderful A-frame. You can go in there. It's like stepping back into like a Polynesian paradise. Prince Spaghetti House is awesome. They have like a leaning tower of Pisa or pizza in the front of it. And those are kind of those lovely heydays left over from the heyday of when Route 1 used to be the place to go. And if my mother was on this, I'm sure she would burst out into the Adventure Car Hop theme, because the Adventure Car Hop with Annie Wu Ginsberg used to be up there. That was way before my time, but when my mom was in what do you call it? High school? Yeah, that's what she would hear about. Okay, what else can I really tell you? Well, we talked about that. Kelly's clams. Oh, I totally forgot to even talk about places to shop. So I will, again, this is not a plug, but it's kind of a plug because, you know, it's family. My sister Pam has a shop in Stoughton called Mad Mama Vintage, and that's a wonderful place to go get stuff. If you want to get any retro road books, she has them in stock. And I do believe on Facebook, she was just tagging me to tell people that she's shipping stuff from the store. So if you want to pick up one of my books, you can totally get them from her. That would be awesome. There's also a couple of other Streamline Antiques, which is in Dorchester, or Dot as I put it, because they used to call Dorchester Dot. I love Streamline Antiques. If you go to retroroadmap.com, get it, Dot, I believe it was literally probably the first post I did on Retro Roadmap was Streamline Antiques all those years ago. They are a wonderful little shop right down there. And what else? So that's in the Boston area. And then way out in the western part of the state, when I was out there last summer, we were in Pittsfield. Can't remember. We were having lunch at Pittsfield, my sister and I, and two places I want to recommend out in that place. One is if you like mid-century modern stuff, which I totally do, is Circa in Pittsfield. They have some wonderful, fun mid-century modern stuff in their shop, and they also do things online. And then also Blue Q. So if anybody has seen some of these really funky shopping bags that I have, and I'm always carrying around with me, Blue Q, who they sell their stuff all over the place, but they're based in Massachusetts. I have loved their stuff for like forever. So check them out. And oh, the Retro Pop Shop in Lee, Massachusetts. That's a fun place. That's a little bit more kind of kitschy, funky finds and things like that. But that's a really fun place to go to too. Gosh, I've got so many more places I want to share with you all. But a couple of, let me think of what else. Well, you know what? We are pretty much out of time here, but I hope this gave you some ideas of places to visit in Massachusetts. Check out many of these places, not all, but many of these places that I'm mentioning are on retroroadmap.com. But if they're not there, you know, hopefully you took some notes. And when there is a New England / Massachusetts retro road book, it will definitely include many of these. And yeah, please, you know, support your local places. Like, do you have local places that you love that you would miss if they were gone? Figure out a way to support them while we're all kind of stuck at home. I hope that by kind of filling your tank and your imagination with ideas of cool places to go to once we are able to move more freely about, that you will be like jumping in the car and stepping on the gas and going to nothing but good places like this. Because you can go to Target anytime, but some of these places that I'm talking about now, I really hope they all make it through this time. They may not, but we got to do what we can to help them, okay? Because that's the kind of world we want to emerge into. You know, I think it's really important to take care of the young people, the old people, the little independent mom and pops and stuff like that. And that's why I have been doing Retro Roadmap for forever. And while I will continue to do it. So I am going to, oh my God, Michelle Forna. If you ever want to get a great haircut in Framingham, go to Michelle Forna, Luna Salon. Totally unsolicited advice there. And oh my gosh, hon, look at this. My guy Phil is going to have such a field day when we're done with this because my hair is just, it's growing a wicked lot. I mean, I guess all of us have a lot of wicked hair now. But I just wanted to say thank you so much for tuning in. I will do another one on Thursday. And for those of you who are still listening, if you're on the Just Drive Your Life, email list, look for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be your weekly email for those of you who are not on the daily drivers. And I've got something a little bit different for tomorrow's. I'm kind of excited about it, and I want to know what you think. So if you're not on the Just Drive Your Life mailing list, which is where I kind of inspire people, try to encourage us all, like in the regular world, I was doing that. And then in this situation, I feel like I need a little bit of motivation to get up out of bed every morning. So I hope other people do too. But get on the Just Drive Your Life mailing list. There's a Just Drive Your Life Facebook page that has a link to the form you can fill out, and there'll be a fun email to go out tomorrow. But other than that, for retro road mapping, this coming Thursday, I'll be here from 3 to 3:30. I've decided to talk about, since we're moving kind of all over the map, we're going to do Rhode Island, and Rhode Island's kind of small, so I may do Rhode Island and Connecticut together. So then we'll actually have covered New England with all these live videos I'm doing. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Hang in there. Be the best version of yourself you can be at this time, and I will see most of you on Thursday. Okay? Adios.